It is 6 p.m., so I will call this June 4th, 2024 meeting of the Wenatchee School District School Board to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Esta junta se lleva a cabo en inglés, pero contamos con servicio de traducción si alguien gusta hacer un comentario público o recibir explicaciones en español. Por favor, indique su necesidad. We will now work through the agenda just briefly before we get to our special presentation. The first item is the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda were sent to the board and posted online last week. The board has had an opportunity to review the materials and individually ask the superintendent any questions on any item on the agenda. This week's consent agenda consists of the minutes from the May 28th, 2024 regular school board meeting, vouchers and payroll, personnel reports, surplus report, contracts, and the 24-25 fee schedule. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as described.
I second it. Moved by Martin, second by Miranda. Miranda, I'm sorry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Nope. And Tucker, we see you online. Thanks for joining. Next up then is before we move into citizen comment, we'll move into our special presentation.
Okay, excellent. Well, you can see that the house is packed with our retirees and our families. So thank you everyone for being here. Words cannot express the depth of our gratitude for your dedication to our students, our staff, and our families, and to the school district. No matter what the role in our system, your efforts and what you have poured your hearts and souls into has been critical in shaping young minds, fostering a love of learning, and nurturing the potential within each student. Your commitment has spanned years, filled with countless late nights, early mornings, and unwavering passion for the education of our youth. The impact that you all have made goes far beyond the classroom and building walls. You've been mentors, confidants, and pillars of support, leaving a mark on generations of students, faculty, and staff. Your legacy will continue to inspire as we strive to carry forward the torch which you've so brightly lit. We celebrate your well-earned retirement and wish you all the joy and fulfillment in the exciting new chapter to come. May it be filled with adventures, cherished moments, and the continued satisfaction of a life dedicated to making a difference. So thank you all very much. You can give yourselves a round of applause. And we'll continue this. Okay, we're good. We will continue with a presentation tonight. Not all of our retirees are here and present, but we have a wealth with their families, and thanks for coming and sharing. And we have leaders, department leaders and building leaders that are here to share a little bit about their retirees as well. So we're going to start off tonight with Columbia Elementary. Oh, I'm sorry. And the microphone's right over here. Diana's going to get into position for a picture opportunity.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. My name is Cy Stewart. I'm the principal at Columbia, and this is Tammy Lopshinsky. She is the music teacher at Columbia for the last 25 years, and before that in Chelan. Yep. So I don't know. It's a long time, I know. I'm supposed to say a few words about Tammy. I don't know how long I'm supposed to go. So I can go really short or long, but I'd like to go long because Tammy is the type of educator that is extremely special and that you don't come across very often. Or you come across very often, but she really stands out. Tammy, when I first came to Columbia Elementary School, I had this a staff member at my old school in Yakima who was very nice and to your face. And then when you weren't around, wasn't very nice at all. And when I first met Tammy, I was like, maybe she's a secret agent too. Because I'd never, Tammy is so nice, but the difference is Tammy's nice all the time to everybody. And she's an amazing human being that gives to this community well beyond what she does at Columbia. She is regularly out in the evenings all school year long. She might be playing an organ at a church. She might be accompanying a student in the high school that's going to state for a vocal performance. She might be helping out the district play or musical. She might be giving individual lessons for free. She gave them to my own daughter just because my daughter asked her, and she said, of course. And that is who she is to her core. She's the best of all of us. And it was really cool to get to know somebody that you're like, man, I want to be like her when I grow up, just because of how kind she is. And it carries over into the classroom. It doesn't matter the most challenging behavior student or academically challenged student, all the way till the easiest student. She was the exact same way to everybody. And one thing Tammy would do with students who needed extra support, she would seek out ways to, hey, Sai, I got an extra 15 minutes here. Can you bring that student in? I might be able to get him on the piano and get him interested in that. And that extends to what she did with strings. And I could go on and on, because this is just, is that enough? Okay, I'm sorry. She would never toot her own horn, because that's not who she is, but she really is the best of us. And thank you for all you've done.
Thank you.
And if we can just do a quick picture of the two of you together, and then we'll invite you to shake hands.
Next up, we have a few retirees at the district office. So we'll have Mike Lane jump up here first.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be talking about my friend Ben Farr. Ben, can you come on up and join me? Whoop. It's my pleasure to be speaking about Ben. Ben was hired in 1999 as a swing shift custodian at Foothills Middle School. He then went through a couple of reorganization structures around where the custodians were, and landed in 2016 where he currently is, which is splitting his time between the district office and Castle Rock Early Learning Center. Now, one of the things you learn in principal school is that when you go to a new school, the two most important people that you meet on day one and develop relationships with are the secretary and the custodian. And the reason for that is that those two people, more than anybody else, have the pulse of the entire school, and they know exactly what's going on. And they also make invaluable daily contributions to the creation and preservation of a safe, warm, and welcoming environment. So much of Ben's work actually occurs beyond the school day, so it might be easy to miss the fact that his contributions pay huge dividends to the culture of our school district. Ben's dedication, hard work, and unwavering commitment have made our school district a better place for generations of students, staff, families, and our community members. Beyond the physical upkeep, Ben has been a beacon of kindness and support for anyone who crossed his path. Whether it was lending a listening ear or offering a warm smile, he has touched the lives of countless individuals, leaving an indelible mark on our school community. Castle Rock Principal Janice Swartz has this to say about Ben. He is so fantastic and considerate. I often work late at the office, and I always appreciate that Ben stops by to check in. He asks about my kids and how the job is going. He's been such a kind and fun person to see at the end of a long day. He will be missed. Ben, congratulations on your retirement. We wish you your days filled with family and friends and spending quality time in your shop. I will miss you professionally and personally, And if you need any help finding homes for all those guitars you're constantly working on, you know how to find me, right? All right. Excellent. And then, oh, sorry.
Okay, next we have another district office retirement and Sean Fitzgerald. Oh, no, sorry. No, Mike, you stay up there. Sorry.
Well, I was
Okay.
gonna talk about Valerie Gray, but I'm not seeing, am I seeing Val? Am I missing Val? I'll hold, I can come back up if Val comes. Okay, yep.
And in the meantime, we'll have Sean Fitzgerald. Come on up. All right.
Marsha Reed, come on down. So Marsha's been with the district for 12 years, and in that time, she has been in the role of accounting specialist. And what she, excuse me, and what she specializes in is making sure the bills are paid and people, and we got all the invoices. So keeping track of that. And that's not an easy task. There's a lot of paperwork and there's a lot of people skills involved, working with staff and working with vendors, making sure we have accurate information and making sure everything's done timely and orderly. And so I've only had the pleasure of working with Marsha for the last 2 years, but I did speak with some of her colleagues who have been here with her since she started. And a lot of things were very common in what they said. When it came to her work, it was accurate and reliable. And she took pride in it, and she was always going above and beyond and making sure everything was in order and we were getting the things done and done right the first time. And then on a personal side, people just thought she was a great colleague with a great sense of humor and always enjoyed working with her. Marsha, you've set the bar high and we're going to miss you and all you bring to our staff and the office as a whole. Just to share one story with you, just one story, and just to see what the things she had to deal with. We were a few months ago, we got an Amazon order of 7 wheelchairs. Except these 7 wheelchairs, they were supposed to arrive 3 years ago. And we had a need for them 3 years ago. But thanks, but no thanks. We're good right now. We don't need them now. And so Marsha got on the phone with the Amazon vendor, and we were quickly able to return, I believe, 4 of them. But the other 3, they just insisted we keep. They were filled by outside vendors and they didn't want them back. But Marsha, she kept at it and worked months and months on hand, and they finally took those wheelchairs back. So, yep, it's just some of the things Marsha has to do every day. Marsha, thank you for all your hard work and just being a great colleague and coworker. We're going to miss you.
Yeah. Excellent. Congratulations. Next up, Lewis and Clark.
Hello, I'm Angie Jegla. I'm the assistant principal at Lewis and Clark, and I would like Vicki Reed. We are celebrating her today, so come on up. So Vicki, Mr. Avila, and I almost got into a fight over who got to be here to celebrate you tonight. I won, so. Vicky has been a part of the Wenatchee School District since 2005, and I don't even know how many of those years were at Lewis and Clark.
Since 17.
Since 17, but I had the privilege of seeing her every day. She started off in our cafeteria, greeting the students and taking little cards, or I mean, she was always great at helping us find ways of being better at what we do, and always had a smile and something kind to say to the kids, always helpful. And then we got rid of that system, and everybody got to have a free meal. So then Vicky started helping us monitor the kids during lunch, and then also being outside on the playground. And she is just always calm, cool. She's always there for the students, to be a listening ear, to meet them wherever they're at, to help them solve problems. She is so amazing. And we are super fortunate because not only did she retired, but she is back volunteering. And not only that, she brings her husband. So we have an extra person out there. So that's even better, you know? So we get to still see her each week, and she's still out there. And she has a chair that she sits in, the kids know to come and talk with her, and like all grade levels. When she comes, she's there all through the recesses. So she is just continually building those relationships from kinder to 5th grade, and just amazing. So we are fortunate that we still get to see you each week, and that our students and our staff still get to have the pleasure of being with you. So congratulations.
Next, we have our Maintenance and Operations Department.
Good evening, everybody. Joan Griffin, if you can just come on down. Joan's worked for the school district for 8 years. And in that time, she's worked only at Lincoln Elementary. So she's been like the one constant custodian that we've had there since we rebuilt Lincoln. I also, in my time here, had the pleasure of hiring her. She was my first hire when I came to work here at the school district. So kind of a special moment to see somebody bring them on and then let them kind of like go off into retirement. Joan's kind of one of those people that she's really dedicated to her job. I think if you ask anybody that works in her building, they'll tell you that they definitely know when she's gone, and they really appreciate when she comes back. And that's just the type of person that she is. She's just got that dedication. She's hardworking. She's going to be sorely missed. Whoever has to replace her has got some humongous shoes to fill. So, Joan, congratulations on your retirement, and on behalf of the district, thank you for your 8 years of service.
Perfect.
Let's see. Next up, we have Mission View, Principal Jeff Jager.
All right, Ms. Jamal. Don't you just love her? I don't know if I need my microphone. Yeah. Mrs. Chamal has been with the district 21 years, and I believe 20 and a half are at Mission View. So we've had her the whole time. Quite the blessing to have. As we all know, we know who really runs our schools, and that's the office managers, correct? Office managers and assistant principals are running the show. So we've been privileged to have Mrs. Chamal at the head of our ship for 21 years. So it's tradition at Mission View, we have a poem prepared for Miss Chamal. So if you would like, I would like to present it to you. I hope to get through it. Calm, kind, and committed. That's our Alejandra Chamal. From family advocate to office manager, this senora can do it all. Patience is her mantra, and helpful is her style. A skyward problem solver and bilingual all the while. She takes her job most seriously. Every detail she attends, the right arm of the office on whom everyone depends. Even when she's busy with a jillion things to do, when a child or adult interrupts her, she stops to help them through. Some people just have warmth and love, the kind that makes life good. New employees and the long-term staff are touched as only Alejandra could. Her personal faith and integrity inside and out of school. Alejandra, this is very cool. As you take this retirement step, know you are loved and kissed. There's so much more for you to do, but at Mission View, you'll be missed. Prepared by Gigi Shaw. Yes. Thanks for sharing us all these years, Ben. We so appreciate you and her. Lisa Douglas. This is going to be a hard one. So, Lisa Douglas, 36 years, all at Mission View. How do you top that? I could be up here all night speaking. So again, you heard me say that it's tradition at Mission View, we do a poem. Lisa chose not to, but you know what? Sometimes you got to do it anyway. So this poem is not presented or prepared by Gigi Shaw. It's presented by me. So please be polite. Lisa Douglas. Yes, that's with an SS. There's kids in the room, so I can't say anymore. You have been our rock the past 36 years, coaching younger staff and the principals. You've been quite the peer. You will forever be remembered for your sigh. Sorry. Which raised its head every once in a while. Truth be known, you had a point, but all you had to do was smile. You've done an excellent job of teaching them all. They all will remember how you touched them, my son being one. Taught by you, he had a ball. You brought new meanings to many things, one of them being putting my big girl pants on. I'll try to keep it clean. When there are problems to solve in the schoolhouse, you were the one that could always be counted upon. And then there were those caramel apple suckers that would prevent a few words slip out. But let's not talk about that. Having you here at Mission View for the 36 years was our druther. We commend you for your leadership, positive relationship, dedication, inspiration, flexibility, collaboration, and of course, humor. Mr. St. Jean knew the impact you would make, and you have become that Mission View tutor. It is now time to spend time with your own kids, Cam, Haley, and the Grands, and of course, Gar. Your life will now be filled with ball playing and racing rigs. Thank you, Lisa Douglas. How'd you do? How'd you do?
Okay, next we have our Director of Special Education with the presentation.
Mrs. M, come on up. Kathy Monteith, AKA Mrs. M. I, for the longest time, didn't know how to say her last name. She was just Mrs. M. Kathy has been serving our district as a special education para for a long, long time. Throughout her 35 years of service to our school district, she has supported students across many of our buildings, including Bunny Slope, Mission View, Lincoln, Washington. She danced in the middle school world for a little bit with Pioneer and Orchard, and then found her longtime home for the last several years at Newberry. And she has worked to support many of our students with disabilities across many different settings with diversity of needs, many different special education teachers, teams, different administrators. Flexibility and adaptability are key traits for educators in general. I would say probably a really big one when we talk about our special education paras. We ask a lot of them, and we put them in situations with demands to support students that really require that flexibility and that adaptability. And Mrs. M has been an amazing example of that throughout the years. I talked to a teacher that has worked with her for a while, and she shared with me and wanted to make sure that Mrs. M heard that her compassion and her kindness and caring for students was evident every day in the work that she did to take care of students. And her experience and love for students has been missed and will continue to be missed. Congratulations on your retirement, and we will miss you very much.
Next up, Orchard Middle School.
I am Josh Etzen, the assistant principal, and I'm excited to bring up Perry. This is Perry Roth. There are many S's that we'll talk about job related in a moment, but what I want to highlight about Perry first is just the human interaction part. When I think of my interactions with Perry, it's a lot of conversations about air filters, biking to work, and the joys and struggles of owning an RV. Okay. And I just really appreciate the human part of it. Like, this is a retirement from a job, but it's humans who do jobs, and you exemplify that we are humans and we want to interact on that level. So getting to the S's, Perry is very skilled. As a custodian, you do lots and lots of things, and then you do even more that you didn't know that you were going to do. He's always had a safety lens that helps ensure safety for his team, for the adults, and for students. In my time here, we've talked a lot about snow and what impact snow has on our building and on whether or not him and I are going to be tired in the morning. Okay. Smoke Where's that coming from and how do we adjust? Okay. Perry is steady. Okay. And that is the even keel. Whatever's coming our way, we can get through it. Whether it's a planned event that is much larger than we planned it to be, or whether it's something that has come up at the last moment, that steady approach is very well appreciated. And then stories. Perry has them, okay? And he's willing to share, okay? And they always have a part that makes me either feel like I need to be riding my bike to work more, okay? Or that I missed out on some of the skills when Perry can share that he has them because I don't. The last one is summer. We have one more summer with Perry. And his retirement date's at the end of the summer. And summer is one of the most challenging time for custodians. There's so much to do. And there's so many assistant principals coming saying, is this going to be ready? Is this going to be ready? Did you plan for this? And Perry comes back to that steady. Whatever comes our way, the first day will come and we'll have done our job incredibly well. Orchard's going to miss you, Perry.
Okay, Ron Brown is up there with some technology retirements.
So the theme I've heard so far is that we are losing a lot of incredibly nice, kind people with a lot of integrity, and that is hard to replace. And I'm going to speak about two individuals who exemplify integrity, and they'll be sorely missed by our technology staff. So I want to bring up Craig Stewart first. I'm not a storyteller, but there's a few things I wanted to say about Mr. Stewart. Craig is a incredibly steadfast employee, over 30 years of service for Wenatchee Schools. He's our computer repair technician. And if you think back 30 years, when we were repairing computers, he was one of the first that really dove into that work. And he has been the sole repair person for Wenatchee Schools for the past 30 years. So I don't know. I think I counted at least potentially 100,000 computers he might have repaired over his career in Wenatchee Schools. And if you remember COVID, we had a few devices to hand out and repair when they came back. So I can't think of anything better than somebody that just stands with incredible integrity. You'll be sorely missed. You're a valuable team member. And if anything I can say about our staff, and especially Craig and the next gentleman, is do it for the kids, whatever it takes. We'll find a way. You just tell us what we need to do and we will make it happen, because it's about the students. It's not about us as employees. And he said that in many different ways every time he interacted when given a directive or interacted with other staff members. So incredibly honored and privileged to stand here and say a few words about Craig Stewart. So you'll be missed, and thank you very much for your service, and enjoy your family and your retirement. I'm gonna miss that guy. Another individual who's leaving us after almost a dozen years, Jeffrey Schoonover. Had the honor and privilege of working with Jeff throughout his career at Wenatchee School District. And again, it's another person that I can't think of someone who has more integrity. And he is in charge of our safety and security systems. And that means a lot to him. It means a lot to our kids and our staff. to take that responsibility of all our alarms and burglar alarms and fire alarms and our control systems and cameras. And he is the one person that does all of those systems for our school district. He'll be truly missed. But again, someone said it earlier, I think Josh said it, it's about relationships in our business. And we can replace skills, we can train skills. We can't train the human side of what we're going to miss with Jeff. And Jeff will do anything you ask, and he'll say it with a smile, and he'll get it done. And you'll know that when he walks away, you can expect it to happen. So he's just one of those great people. So I'm super excited. He's going to go quad every other week and be up in the mountains and enjoy the outdoors with his family. So I'm very excited for him, but I'm really sad for us. And hopefully both of those individuals come back and visit, because they are definitely a part of our team forever. So thank you, Jeff, for your time.
Transportation is next. Jency.
Hello, Mr. Pedro, where are you? No one would know. Just last week, we were crying together in my office when he handed in his retirement, but some big smile. I've had the privilege of working with Pedro just the last 4 years of his 24-year career here. So I took an opportunity to ask our fellow staff what they would describe Pedro in one word. And some of them that they came up with was fascinating. I don't know. Caring, considerate, funny, committed, generous, thoughtful, adaptable, kind-hearted, a hero, altruistic. And the best one that I got today was he's just Pedro. If you know Pedro, you know that he is just Pedro. So aside from all the sentimental words that describe you, Pedro, I would like to add jokester. Shortly after I came to the team, I was fairly new, and you came up to my window in my office and affectionately called the window the complaint window. So multiple times a week, he would barge into the office, lean on the windowsill and say, "I have a complaint," where I would say that the department was closed. Still to this day, we joke about the complaint window that really doesn't take complaints. So Pedro, we are thankful for the years of you transporting our students, the hundreds of athletic and field trips you have driven, our monthly staff meetings where we can always count on you having just one more question, and knowing exactly where you have been in our building because your trace of cologne is there. I know that this was not an easy decision for you. I hope that you find peace with your decision and you enjoy time with your family and friends in the coming years. Thank you for your dedication to student transportation, our transportation family, and the Wenatchee School District. You will be missed, but not forgotten by your transportation family. Hold on, I'm gonna go. No, let's do this. There we go. We got it. We got it. We got it. We got it. We're gonna hold it together.
Okay, Valley Academy of Learning.
Hello, I'm Shelley Jelsing. I'm the director at Valley Academy of Learning. The hard thing for me is that I only had the opportunity to work with Tammy for 1 year because this is my very first year at Valley Academy of Learning, but I cannot tell you how much I have learned from this amazing lady. She has been in education for 41 years. She, a lot of times when you think of someone who's retiring, and I know this is not any of you guys in here, but because we have all these amazing educators and so many people I've worked with in here. But she is one that has never burned out. She ended her year this year with a bang. She decided that she was going to have a play at Wenatchee High School that had all of our kids in a drama class doing everything from building the set to doing the lines to singing and dancing and making costumes. She is someone who just has tireless energy. She is someone who decides all of a sudden in her last year that she's going to make this team of engineers and they're going to go over and do the future city of Wenatchee and do this amazing stuff. They do this presentation and kids are just looked on as leaders. She's the type of person that is till the last minute very available and wanting to mentor. So much that I hired somebody new for her role. And immediately that person is going into some paternity leave. And so I was like, Tammy, because we are in alternative learning education, it's not easy to learn. And I was like, what do you think? And she said, yes. And I'm so thankful. She just is that person. She is there for everybody. She brings a joy through the building. Not only is it that she's coming through in her body, but she also brings a wagon of things every time she walks through the door, of whether it's donuts or cookies to make the students excited. It might be a whole thing of costumes because someone donated them and she's bringing them into the building, to props for something that she's teaching, engineering or STEM activities. She's got it all. And we're just thankful to have her in our building. I'm thankful to get her back for a little bit of time. But 41 years in education, what a feat. And we're just so thankful to have had her at Valley Academy for the last 6 years. So congratulations, Tammy. I do not really know how we're going to fill your shoes, but I don't have to for too long next year. I get you back for a little bit of time. Okay. Thank you.
Wenatchee High School.
Thank you. Eric Anderson, Principal, Wenatchee High School. We've got 3 retirees this evening that are here, and I'm going to start with Lila Carta. Come on up, Lila. Now, I'm just going to share with you, this is not Lila's normal speed, just so you know. One of the stories that, sticks out of my mind, please come on up here, is the first time I met Lila. One of my mentors shared with me early on, like an administrator never moves too fast in the building because teachers think, or any staff thinks the building's on fire, right? Like you got to move at a good pace, but you can't move too fast. Lila moves as the pace like the school's on fire everywhere she is going. So she stands out in my mind. That's the first time we met. I'm like, I'm going to introduce myself right now. Like, hey, how we doing? And Lila is an amazing individual who is going to be missed at Wenatchee High School. She cares deeply about our students, and you have worked at every ranks of elementary, middle, and high, and worked with a ton of students and take kids where they are. Doesn't matter where they are, where they're coming from, what their current situation is. This individual just loves on them. And that is going to be hard to replace, obviously, because it is tough to watch you move at the pace that you move and touch as many kids that you've touched over the years in our system. And Lila, you're going to be missed greatly. Yeah, I know. You can come back and help. You're welcome to come back. You got it. Well, congratulations on your retirement, Lila. Thank you.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, next is Mr. Todd Bussey. So I don't know if I'm just not as observant as I should be, but when you and I talked this fall about you retiring, I looked at you like, are you old enough to retire, my friend? And you said, yes, I know you are now, but you shared with me 33 years at that point in time. And then you shared your age, and my mind about exploded because I'm like, man, I need to look as good as you do when I'm your age. I'm just telling you right now. After 33 years of working with kids in math and science, Todd has been in leadership in our building as a department head. And it's not often that you get people that are diving back into math. I'm just going to share that as well. So Todd was with us working hard in science and was like, Eric, I'm thinking maybe back to math. What do you think about that? And I'm like, absolutely. Let's do this. And Todd's done a fantastic job working with our students, taking a lot of leadership within the department, worked with students at all levels in math. I can't even imagine the number over those 33 years that have moved on to higher level math, on to engineering. And you're going to be missed, my friend. So thank you very much. All right, Mr. Tom Baumeister here. So Tom, if you don't know this, hosts gatherings at his house, specifically for the math department. And I got invited one year, which was awesome. Pool parties, to be exact, which I was like, wow, this is fantastic. We got people in bathing suits sitting down around a pool, dipping their feet in. We got dogs running around. It was a whole lot of fun. But what we found through that particular evening, the first time that we got together, was that we both enjoyed a certain type of beverage, and an amber specifically. So we were chatting about this, and then lo and behold, the next time I saw Tom, he's bringing me a 6-pack of something. I mean, just a regular beverage, obviously, but I mean, just something to enjoy. And we then enjoyed back and forth. I was down in California, happened to find his favorite beverage, yes, down there. And I brought that back for him as well. So we've had this ongoing relationship around this, and it has been a ton of fun. And you have mentored a number of our math teachers. I mean, over and over, I would say that as people kind of think about Tom, it is as a mentor to our younger staff in our building. He really takes that time to get to know our younger staff, to invest in them, and really dive into that work with them. So he's going to be missed greatly in our building, and has taken the lead in geometry for a number of years. And I don't know how many in here would say that geometry is your favorite class ever in high school. Okay, maybe a handful or two back in the, but I'm saying majority is not exactly what they're dying to get into. And Tom loves that content and loves the kids in that classroom. And they're typically our younger students, and does a fantastic job with it. And my own students also were in your classroom. So my own daughters were there. So much appreciated, my friend. You're going to be missed. Thank you, Tom.
Excellent. I am here representing Wenatchee Valley Technical Skills Center. So Terry, come on up here. So, yep. Pete was not able to join us tonight, but he prepared some words. So just imagine I'm taller and more tan. And then it'll be Pete. So we'll just go from there. Okay. So first of all, Terry, you are a rock. You are grounded and you are steady. You have impacted all types of students, not by giving them technical trade skills all the time, but by coming alongside them individually and helping them find themselves. This doesn't happen by you telling them how to live and be better, but by showing them through your actions. You have not just been a mentor to our students, but to Pete as well. There have been many times when Pete has questioned his effectiveness as a leader and a person. And in many of those moments, Terry, you came alongside to share a word of wisdom and kindness. And Pete knows that these gifts and actions will not stop once you retire from the Wenatchee School District. Whatever your next role will be, or pastime or activity or whatever that might be, Pete knows that it will continue to be a blessing for others. So thank you, Terry Fike. Do one of these? Right over here, Terry. Terry, these guys want to shake your hand. Yeah. I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight and for bringing your family and your support and your people. We're going to transition a little bit, so it's a great time. If you did not want to stay for the rest of the board meeting, we would completely understand that. But we're going to transition to citizen comment. So if you'd like to sneak out, you're welcome to do that. Thank you. Oh, and retirees, make sure you grab your clock over there. I know you've been eyeing those with desire, so grab those bad boys on the way out. So thank you very much, and we'll transition to citizen comment. Okay, we are ready.
All right, it's a little quieter in here now, so apparently no one wants to spend the rest of the night with us. So appreciate the service of our retirees, and now moving on to citizen comment. I can read the whole script, but I'm being told that we don't have any citizen comment. Is that anyone? Well, moving on then. We'll move on to special presentations part 2.
Yes, and I will invite our Executive Director of Learning and Teaching, Heidi Busk, up to begin our presentation. It looks like the mic did not stay the way I wanted it to stay, so I apologize for that. Thank you, Heidi.
There, I think I've got it. We're good to go.
It's going to fall again? All right. Thank you. Wasn't that lovely tonight? Oh my goodness. What a great celebration. All right. Well, good evening. We are excited to come back to you tonight and share about our multi-tiered systems of support with a focus on HiCap and the highly capable program tonight. In the Wenatchee School District, we promise to build a foundation of diversity, equity, and inclusion from which each student emerges future ready. Diversity for students means I am seen. Equity, I will thrive. And inclusion, I belong. One way we are living up to our promise is through our multi-tiered systems of support, or layers of support for our students. We ensure our students have opportunities to thrive by providing Tier 1 first best instruction with differentiation using evidence-based best instructional strategies in every classroom. For students who need additional time and support to reach or extend on our priority standards, we provide additional layers of support. Our district highly capable program is part of our multi-tiered systems of support and is one of the many ways we are fulfilling our promise. The mission of our highly capable programs is to provide services that acknowledge and address students' diverse advanced learning needs. Now I will turn the presentation over to our Wenatchee School District highly capable coordinator, Kathy Moody, to share information about our program and how we serve students and the equitable identification practices we have in place in our district.
That work? Okay. Thank you. We appreciate this opportunity to share about highly capable programs as part of the multi-tiered system of support in the Wenatchee School District. In Washington, for highly capable students, access to accelerated learning and enhanced instruction is access to a basic education, which is right in line with our promise. We begin with the definition of highly capable students. We'll review the identification process and share the range of services provided to students with advanced learning needs. So the state of Washington provides a definition of students who are highly capable, and the Wenatchee School District uses that same definition that you see here. We know that our schools are filled with potential, and we also believe that every student has potential. The definition for students who are highly capable are students who perform or show potential for performing at significantly advanced academic levels compared with others of their age, experience, or environments. And so as this definition states, these are abilities are seen within students' general intellectual aptitudes, specific academic abilities, and or creative productivity within a specific domain, such as reading or math. And highly capable students are present in all populations of students. Several important items are bolded. At the heart of the definition, we're comparing students with others of the same age, experiences, or environments. Students are identified for services based on strength areas or domains, reading, math, nonverbal, which is a visual spatial problem-solving ability, or a composite of these. This is a longstanding practice in the Wenatchee School District. It's now been adopted by the state, and identification by domain is now required at a minimum for reading and math. We'll go through the identification process next. One of the imperatives from the state is that district practices for identifying the most highly capable students must prioritize equitable identification of low-income students. Basically, the identification of highly capable students should roughly match the demographics of the student population in the district. Although this slide You might have seen it before in various iterations. It remains consistent for this process. This continues to be an area of growth for us, and addressing barriers to equity has been a long-standing, continually evolving process in the Wenatchee School District. And it's what happens during each of these stages that makes a difference. So the public notification is annually inside Wenatchee, in the Inside Wenatchee Schools, is mailed to all households and is published online. This communicates to all our families that services are available, that students can be referred for screening, and it includes a timeline for identification activity. This and all other HICAP communications are printed in both English and Spanish in an effort to remove barriers for families, as those are the two primary languages here in Wenatchee. Referrals. Referrals can be made by teachers, by parents, and by community members. Typically, these are made in the elementary years. We do have a referral process as required. However, requiring referrals for identification is a huge barrier. In reality, because we look at every student every year, it has the same effect as an automatic referral. So what this means is any student can be identified without a referral because we look at every student every year. That's what we mean by universal referrals. For permission to assess, when we do receive a referral for a student, if additional testing is necessary, a letter goes home asking for permission to further assess a student. And our additional assessments can only be completed if that letter is returned. If permissions aren't returned, then we cannot assess a student. And what we've implemented in the last couple of years is follow-up phone calls to determine if parents have any questions. We have a bilingual staff member who helps us with these as well, and to provide explanations for families. This has increased the response rate for testing permissions. So we're pretty much at very close to 100% now. Screening and assessment. We already use achievement data from iReady multiple times a year, as well as Smarter Balance assessment scores and WIDA scores to provide student data on language acquisition. If additional screening and assessment is needed, we use cognitive data from the COGAT screener. And this testing, well, we also do the full COGAT. This testing allows students to receive testing instructions in their native language. It's in the primary grades, it's not reliant on being able to read in English. And that's what we use when we do universal screening on our focus year at second grade. And for example, this year we tested students with instructions in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Mandarin. And they hear the instructions through headsets. Nonverbal testing is also considered in the identification process. That's another component of the COGAT. And any testing occurs during the school day, so transportation isn't a barrier. This seems really straightforward, and it's been our district practice for many years. But the reason I bring it up is because in other districts, the practice has been to have testing on a Saturday, to require a referral, to require parents to drive their students to a central location. We have a new universal screening requirement this year. We've screened once at second grade. The new law this year says we need to screen at or before second grade and at or before sixth grade. We're universally screening all students with iReady through grade 8 and looking at Smarter Balance assessments through high school. But our second additional universal screening is now fifth grade to look at students as they transition into middle school. And we'll be using the Smarter Balance assessment for that. The Multidisciplinary Placement Committee is a group of professionals. The composition of the committee is articulated by the state. And we spend time learning about the types of data, calibrating our review of data, and follow a protocol. There's some equity moves involved in this process as well. We use local norms so that students are compared to other students who are similar, as our definition suggests. So we look at norms for students from title schools, norms from students from non-title schools. And we're looking for students who are roughly at the 95th percentile or higher in their school compared to similar peers. Student names and identifiers aren't visible to the committee, so that eliminates any unconscious bias. And we're looking for mounting evidence that students need service. We identify for domains of strength. So a student doesn't have to be strong in every area, but if math is their jam, we want to serve that. Once students are notified as needing services, a notification letter goes home to parents or guardians explaining the process. And this spring, we began the process to connect with all of those families, either in person, over Zoom, or having a phone conversation just to explain identification and services. And then if students are served outside of the classroom, we do need permission for services. So this is a list of addressing equity in identification, and we've really covered most of those throughout going through the process. But I want to highlight the importance of communication in several other areas as well. This year, informational presentations were provided to all elementary certificated teaching staff to communicate current HiCap definition processes and review services. And part of the presentation, including sharing the culturally, linguistically, economically diverse scales, which looks at highly capable student characteristics from a different lens. And these are research scales that identify sets of characteristics commonly seen in high potential learners. We've also had a present at multiple WSD migrant multilingual family nights each year, presented at an EPIC preschool family night, and shared information on the radio show hosted by Mr. Lopez on La Zeta. We are continually seeking and adopting additional ways to remove any barriers for identification and to provide services to students. At the end of May, there were 884 students, grades K-12, identified for HiCap services, which is about 13.5% of the district student population. This shows by grade level, and you'll notice the primary grades, there are many fewer students. It makes sense because we have less information about students at that point in their career. Second grade looks unusually low in number, and that's just because their identification meeting is later in the year. So this was the end of May, and we just had their meeting this afternoon. So we'll be adding another 30 to that number. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll be graduating about 95 students from both high schools. So the number of students we serve is always in flux throughout the school year, depending on the identification timeline. So services for HiCap students, it's part of basic education and part of multi-tiered systems of support. So it's a responsibility that's shared by all the staff throughout the Wenatchee School District. Students at all grade levels receive services first in the classroom through differentiation. Differentiation can be subtle And it's not exclusively limited to students who are identified for HiCap services. Different content, process, or product can be adjusted to meet the needs of students. First best instruction is designed with all students in mind, and differentiation is part of the planning process. Additionally, another layer of support are opportunities for extension or acceleration. In a walk-to model, students receive a daily dose of instruction targeted to their level. And when intervention and extension happens within a single classroom, student groupings focus on instruction at students' levels. In middle school and high school, there are accelerated courses available to students. This might include an accelerated math pathway, advanced courses in high school, college in the high school, advanced placement, and running start. And although I serve as the AP or advanced placement coordinator for the district, that is just one of multiple advanced options for acceleration. There are some unique, highly capable program opportunities. At Valley Academy of Learning, students have an individualized students' learning plans. And in all the other elementaries, there are pull-out services provided by a HiCap specialist once each week for students with identified strength areas such as math, language arts, and visual spatial skills. There are also offerings in high school through an elective course called Directed Study, where independent study is available for motivated, self-directed juniors and seniors. Additionally, there are services or programs provided outside the traditional school setting, such as competitions like Math is Cool, Mock Trial, Knowledge Bowl, theaters and opportunity, service organizations, and collaborative partnerships with industry available through our CTE offerings. Amber Burks, our MTSS Assistant Director, will be sharing some information about how we continue to build capacity to provide services that meet the needs of our highly capable students.
Thank you, Kathy. So I'm going to finish out the presentation tonight with an overview of how we have been supporting educators with strategies to help meet the needs of HiCap students and all students across the classroom. We intentionally selected the strategies you see here. We call them our Wenatchee School District Essential Strategies because they are essential for our HiCap students and our multilingual learners, but they're excellent for all students. We selected these strategies because they are applicable to all content areas and they are evidence-based. Those strategies are the levels of questioning with varied levels of cognitive demand, rich academic discourse, academic vocabulary, and reading grade level or beyond texts. So this year, we provided district-wide training in August, in October, and during our Monday morning LID opportunities, Learning Improvement Days. In addition, our district trainer team has been very, very active and successful with supporting teachers through coaching in the classroom and during our Monday morning collaborations. So providing systems level professional learning is a real key component of our plan for ensuring that highly capable students and all students have access to accelerated learning and enhanced learning opportunities where they receive that all throughout their day, as Kathy mentioned, with the multi-tiered layers of support. And we know this is a key part of our plan to deliver on our promise that all of our students are future ready. So we thank you again for this opportunity to share tonight and want to just close by asking if you have any questions.
I don't have questions. I just want to say thank you to the team. I think last several years I've been advocating for what are we doing to reach all students, our numbers have been disproportionate of our student body. What are we doing? How are we reaching all families? I see Kathy at a lot of district events and community events. So thank you for making sure that our community is aware that we provide the services, but also into looking at the just different multilingual skills, the family, our migrant nights and all of that. I think it's making an impact. It's probably too soon to see the impact that the outreach is having. But I'm looking forward to say, a year or two down the road to look at the demographics of the students HiCap serves. And this is just a great example of how our leaders are, building that foundation for based on our strategic plan and our promise. So thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
And I wanted to make very similar comments to Maria's, but I think amplifying them in a slightly different way. First of all, yes, I also thank you for what you're doing. It's a very complex set of regulations and statutory requirements. It's a very complex training and effort and looking for referrals and doing it across a very large number of areas. And I think it is extremely encouraging to see that. But for all those efforts, there's a social inertia that we live in. How do you find everybody who has a hidden talent? And it's related to equity. It's related to engagement. And thank you. I have the 21-22 data, which was given to me because I was sitting in on a seminar on this subject. I don't know if you've got more than that, but I would like to see perhaps the board or more people have an opportunity in the future to either have a workshop, look at the review, look at some disaggregated data over a period of time. And I'm just going to give one little speculative thing. The data I've seen, and I've seen it elsewhere, is the migrant group is plus 2% more than the average in participation. Is that because we have a lot of migrant tradition and programs? Then you see other groups where you would predict it from demographic and social data as to where the imbalances are. So I think I wanted to go back to the start. Thank you very, very much, the school district and everybody for doing this. I do think that it is a really tough road to climb, but it would be very good to look at it as a review aspect. It's written in the policy that we do an annual review that gets down a little more into the nitty gritty over time. And maybe we'll get some insights as to how to spark engagement even more than you already are. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say it was helpful and informative. And I'm glad to hear that we are looking and screening at all levels, because I do, being a parent, remember what it felt like to feel like in second grade, your student hadn't been picked and now, or were they forever not going to be looked at again or whatnot. It's just kind of, you're trying to figure everything out at that age. So it is great to know that there's constantly an eye on them and looking for potential that may develop later, or kids who may have not been interested before now developing more interest later. So I'm glad we have that option.
Thank you for that, Julie.
Tucker, anything from online? Take it as a no.
Sorry, no. Thanks for asking.
I just want to finish by thanking Kathy. Personal thank you, Kathy. This is a passion project for Kathy Moody, and job well done.
Yeah, I second that as well. Thank you, Kathy, for your passion. And I can attest to all of the presentations that she did at all the schools, because I always feel like you were either when we were doing the budget conversations, like, and Kathy's up next. And I was like, oh my gosh, she is just hitting all the schools. So thank you for that. And yeah, well done. Thanks. Next up, we have Executive Director of Business and Finance, Sean Fitzgerald.
Thank you and good evening, President Norton, members of the board, and Superintendent Kalahar. I'm here tonight to present on the 2024-25 preliminary budget presentation, which is known in the school district accounting world as the other funds, which consist of ASB, capital projects, debt service, and transportation vehicle. This naming no way diminishes the importance of these funds, but they are generally dwarfed by the general fund, and wanted to focus tonight on these funds for the district and the board. This will be the first of 3 presentations on the 24-25 budget, which will take place between now and the budget adoption at the end of August. The numbers tonight are presented are preliminary and subject to change based on the final budget. To begin, again, just the district fund structure follows a governmental accounting system, which is organized and operated on the fund basis. And we define the school district accounting manual defines the fund as a fiscal and accounting entity with a self-balancing set of accounts for the purpose of carrying on specific activities or attaining certain objectives. And for our matter tonight, the district utilizes 5 funds: the general, capital projects, debt service, ASB, and transportation vehicle. As mentioned before, the general fund is our largest fund and makes up about 90% of our budget, and the other funds make up about 10%. And just for context, transportation and vehicle makes up about 1%, as does ASB, and then debt service and capital projects each make up about 4%, which that's how it kind of comes out to. We're going to start with our transportation vehicle fund. And the purpose and background: transportation vehicle fund is used for the purchase and repair of yellow school buses and is primarily funded by the state reimbursement depreciation model, which allows the district to replace aging buses with new ones. Expenditures are recorded not when buses are delivered to the district, not when the order is placed. We're going to start with our 23-24 year-end projections. And let's see if we got our red dot working. All right. And we'll just kind of walk through where we were budgeted and where we expect to finish by the end of August. So to start off with, our revenues are finishing higher than expected. We received more from our state depreciation reimbursement, and it's a nice surprise. And I think this is likely due to just the delay in receiving a bus. We were originally supposed to receive a bus last year, and it came this year. So I think that might have affected the funding model. So it's more of a timing difference in that matter. When we get to the expenditures, we finished better than budgeted by almost $80,000. And a lot of this is due to the actual price of the buses coming in less than the quoted price, which was nice. So roughly there about $55,000 in savings. And the extra difference was just about $20,000 or so of just capacity that was just budgeted in case of any sort of, actually, if the opposite have occurred, if there were some unexpected expenditures that may have occurred, but the opposite happened. So all in all, very nice way to end the year, and we're going to see an increase in the fund balance. So our expectations, we're going to finish higher than budgeted. Moving on, we're seeing the preliminary budget for 24-25 and also the forecast as well from 24-25 up through 27-28. That's encompassing the whole 4 years. So, and then comparison to where we're going to finish for this year. So when we're looking here, our main revenue sources, we're getting interest earnings from our investments in the local government investment pool, which is a nice little source of revenue, followed by the state depreciation reimbursement set by OSPI. But you'll see here, we're doing a large amount of expenditures in our bus purchases. So these have already been reviewed and approved by the board this last year, just because of the timing delays that it takes in receiving a bus. But we have 5 buses on order, which we expect to arrive in the 24-25 school year. And we have a large kind of fund balance to utilize. And so what transportation has been doing is, in addition to replacing aging fleets, which the depreciation reimbursement model allows us, We're also looking at building capacity for both general ed and also our special education. We've seen an increase in our special education enrollment, and that has led to greater demand for special education buses. So these purchases allow us to meet those needs. When we get into the forecasts, basically, we're following the depreciation model from OSPI and what they project we were going to receive for these years. But as you can see, our expenditures and bus purchases are decreasing, as is our fund balance. But what we're kind of looking here for now for our forecasting is, again, maybe purchasing about 3 buses for 25, 26, and 26, 27. So that would be 2 general ed buses and 1 special ed bus, again, maintaining the fleet and building capacity, ensure we're meeting those needs. And then as we're aligning ourselves more with the depreciation model, we're going to back away from purchasing about 3 buses. So we're probably going to look down to maybe just 2 buses. So again, it's an alignment just with replacing aging inventory as opposed to expanding the fleet. Any questions on the vehicle fund?
I have a question.
Sure.
So we've been talking a lot about declining enrollment, and then you just mentioned increasing capacity. It might be just my own ignorance. Are we over capacity for our busing, or are we just, can you help me understand that? Like declining enrollment, but additional capacity?
Sure. So we, in the one hand, although we have overall, I'll focus 2 parts. One, special education enrollment. Although our general education enrollment is declining overall, we are seeing our special education enrollment increase. So that we need to make sure we're meeting that demand. On the general education side, the capacity is there in case a bus breaks down. So if one goes down, it can be out for several months. So we want to make sure we just have a couple on spare that are there to be utilized in case of emergencies or athletic events. So that is what it's there for.
Great, thank you.
Great question. ASB. So the ASB, let's move on here. Our ASB fund is designated for activities or events which are cultural, social, recreational, or athletic nature and must be optional, non-credit, and extracurricular. This fund is financed from establishing and collecting fees, fines, and donations, and enrollment plays no part in the funding portion of this. Funds are legally restricted, so they must be used for ASB purposes only and specific to that activity if specified. And then again, for context, just for 23-24 purposes, it makes up about 1% of the budget. So here we are, our 23-24 year-end projections. And so again, ASB is normal. It's like despite not meeting the budgeted amounts, we're continuing to see the ASB fund grow and continue to grow. We're seeing lots more activity. And again, this is the best year since before the lockdown. So compared to the 2018-19 school year, this is probably the best year since. We've had 3 years of consecutive growth in the ASB fund, and we're continuing to see that grow as revenues exceed expenditures. So in all, a positive outlook, a return to pre-pandemic activity and student involvement. And again, just with the preliminary budget and the forecasting, our expectation is we're going to continue to see ASB activity to grow, return to pre-pandemic activity levels. And again, even if they don't meet the budgeted amounts, we're still seeing growth because of revenues exceeding expenditures and the activity in all of the different areas, whether that's athletics or clubs or private donations. And again, when we just forecast it out, we just kind of leave a balanced approach in our expectation as each year goes by. Any questions on ASB?
I do actually. And my questions on that one are directed more at student behavior and opportunities and extracurricular, because the numbers are small. And as you say, we're coming out of complete turbulence. So this is the second time tonight I'm being demanding, but I'll try to be sympathetic. So also to understand, what does general student body cover?
So general student body covers everything that doesn't fall under those other specific categories. So the largest revenue source in the general student body would be like the ASB card.
Okay, so that'd be ASB type functions.
Yes.
Okay. And again, in that area, we were very much under budget this year, and then you're assuming that everybody's going to fire on all cylinders forevermore. And also that it looks like there's a surplus every year in the forecast. Is that, how much of that is financial and how much of that is consciously trying to create culture in the schools?
I would say on the forecast side, I mean, when it comes to the ASB budget, this is prepared by the individual schools. And then it's, starts with the clubs, goes up to the school principal, and then it's aggregated on our half. When we combine the budget, we combine all their budgets to the total one for one that ultimately gets approved by the board. Finance is looking at this for reasonableness. So I'm looking at from entirely financial reasonableness perspective, as opposed to where we're seeing it. I think it breaks down depending on the school activity.
That's a perfect financial answer, and thank you very much for that. But I think I would like to put on the table as we go through this next year, let's look at the schools and in operations to see what's piquing students' interests, what's working. And, because to me, the behavioral and activity aspect of it is what is probably most important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Martin asked my question, and part of my follow-up question is drilled down into that, because I'm guessing that the general student body budget amount was based on prior year sort of activity budget, kind of consistent. So to me, I'm looking at that as a pretty big variance to this year. And the first question I have is, okay, if that's based on general student behavior more than athletics clubs, something like that, was there something we missed putting on somewhere? Was there a big, that's my immediate reaction. Now, this is peanuts in comparison to the entire budget, so I don't want to dwell on it, but it is a massive variance. And it seems like if that's just based on student behavior, what did we miss this year that caused such a big variance?
I guess which I can go back, which variance?
So the between budgeted and projected, the general student body, that just, it's so off. It kind of looks like, did we miss a function? Was there a bad turnout at a dance? What was, just trying to understand that a little better.
Yeah, and I can drill down and get further detail on that.
I'll piggyback on that, because in this consent agenda, we looked at the fees, the fee schedules for next year. And it did make me wonder, seeing there, the ones that there are, I guess, fee waivers for such activities or service, ASB or whatnot. It made me wonder, and I've asked this question before, how are we getting this, how are we getting out this information to our parents that, to our students that are in need? I guess, do our families know that we have such fee waivers, or, I just experience for my child at Orchard, especially now that, middle school and high school, there seems to be a little bit more activity than at the elementary level. I can't recall seeing anything in the fall packet saying, so financial support available for whatever it is. So it made me wonder, given also with sports, and the House bill that, came into play a few years ago, what are we doing to reach out to promote? And I know there's a fine line between, really serving those students that are in need. We have a qualifier, but what are we doing? And is this, can we change this, by doing a better job promoting that?
I mean, I don't handle the communication aspect. I know that kind of falls to the school level, but I can definitely follow up on it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we can get that information for you, Maria. Yep.
Debt service fund. So the primary purpose is just to pay off the principal and interest of our outstanding bond. And the district has one bond, which was passed in 2014 and refinanced in March of 2024, which will save the district taxpayer $6.6 million over the next 10 years. The district will fully pay off this bond in 2033. Again, just for context, makes up about 4% of the budget. Revenues primarily comes from our property tax levy, and we do receive some investment interest income. Expenditures follow a fixed bond schedule and pay off the bond principal and interest. There can be some underwriting fees, transfers that occasionally pop up, but the primary focus is bond principal and interest. And then we have our fund balance, which are our reserves, which can be used to pay off the debt, lower the levy collection amount. Here are our budget versus projections. And so you can see, if I can get to you had a lot of activity that occurred during this year, and this reflects the bond refinancing. So at the beginning of the year, we were not expecting to do a bond refinancing, and so that's why it's zero. But during the activity during the year and the opportunity presented itself between January and March, we pursued it. And so basically what we see here with the 53 million and the 52.7 is essentially the refinancing with essentially the old bond, quote unquote, old bond being removed and the new refinance one in the system. And essentially we're just acting as a pass through here because the county treasurer is our bank. And so what we're really seeing here is the county treasurer activity, just moving between moving the funds out to an escrow account and vice versa. But overall, we're meeting our principal payments. And as we can see here, we're seeing a difference in our interest payments versus what was budgeted. Again, this is due to the refinancing. So we paid about $800,000 less on our second interest payment. So that's why that's why there's that variance there. But overall, and then we're seeing a large increase in our fund balance because of this refinancing. With that said, moving on to the budget and forecast, with this increase in fund balance, what does that mean? And with the refinancing, so for next year, we are looking at a lower collection amount because our principal and interest have decreased on the refinancing. And we're going to be utilizing our fund balance in the tune of about $1.2 million and drawing down. This will lower tax rates for our local district taxpayers because of the refinancing. And as we continue with our forecast, we're again, the levies are $500,000 to $300,000 lower than what we were going out for this year, just because of the refinancing. And then every year we just kind of reevaluate our fund balance and where we want to be. Do we want to continue to draw down on the fund balance in the short term or maintain it in the long term? When the district goes out and passes a new bond, there's you have a tendency there's going to be that increase in tax rates, so you can utilize your fund balance to help offset maybe some of those increased tax rates temporarily if you adjust to a new bond. Right now we're just kind of taking a very conservative approach and evaluate it on a year-by-year basis. Any questions on debt service? Capital projects. All right, so the purpose of capital projects is buying or constructing major capital facilities, including land, equipment, or building construction. It's financed from bonds, capital levies, the sale of land, and investment interest income. And we'll just move on here with our year-end projections. So basically what we have here is this large variance is due to, this is essentially just budget capacity. It was making sure we anticipated any sort of new revenue sources that we might take into account during the year that we weren't expecting at the time of the budget. Right now we have about $284,000. That's investment interest income and the sale of the Mission View parcel. We also have a CTE grant, which is restricted for CTE purposes, which we received during the middle of the year. And then we have our transfer from the general fund of the $4 million to fund the softball field. Now, drawing your attention I'm increasing this to 5.5 for year end because one of the issues that may arise between now and year end is unexpected costs in terms of the construction of the softball field. So right now, when we went into the year, our expectation was $4 million. At the time the contract was approved in April, we were looking at 4.7. So an additional transfer from the general fund by year end would act as rather an insurance policy to cover any unexpected costs that might occur between now and the end of August. That doesn't necessarily mean we will incur these costs. And if we don't, then they revert back to the general fund. But it is there to act as kind of a safety valve in case there are any unexpected costs. That will be presented to the board as a board resolution on the June 25th meeting, and just wanting to present that to you now, or if you have any questions now or in the 3 weeks between the next board meeting. Again, we haven't identified any costs or possible cost overruns, but that would allow us, again, as a kind of an insurance policy. And if we did that, it would essentially max out our budgeted expenditures for this year.
Hey, Sean, I had a quick question about that.
Sure.
If we transfer money from the general fund to the capital fund, can we transfer it back if we don't use it, or is it now just in the capital fund?
It automatically reverts back if it's unused.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So here's our budget for 24-25. So you can see here, the state special purpose, it's like that's, we have 3.5 million, that adds up to 14.5 million over 4 years. That is the tech center grant that we received in funding this year. And although right now, do we anticipate, we just received the funds right now, the planning, but we are just budgeting it in there to recognize that we do have the funding. Whether we spend $3.5 million, probably not, but it's going to be in there just to ensure that there's capacity in meeting any needs. And this could turn out over our forecasts. I mean, it could be 1 million next year, then 2, and then grow exponentially as we have more construction projects. It may occur over more than 4 years, but right now we just want to budget it so that the district recognizes that we do have this revenue available for the tech center and that it would only be used for the tech center. And those expenditures, it would likewise mirror as well. If we spent X amount of money for the tech center, it would be reflected here so they have the budgeted funds available for whenever they need. The other thing I want to draw attention to is a transfer from a general fund. So our expectation is that the softball field will be completed by the end of August. We haven't heard a difference in the timeline, that we're on time, but we still have this general fund transfer of $500,000. And right there is, this would be used again as an insurance policy. We don't have, our only source of revenue right now that's coming in to the capital projects is investment earnings. And we have limited fund balance, and that's not a long-term sustainable plan for the capital project. So we'll need an alternative revenue source in order to cover any, again, unexpected emergency repairs that may occur next year. So this would give authorization to our maintenance and operations department if there are emergency repairs, like if an HVAC system goes down or something like that, that they would have the funds available if need be. And again, that would require a board resolution, but that would also be included probably in the budget adoption resolution as well. So those would all be together. So again, the board has time to reflect and consider their options on the capital projects transfer.
I do want to comment on the capital project again, and thank you for the explanation of the skills center, because that's obviously the big item. But the thing that I want to raise as something to work on right now is the fact that there are no sources and there are no reserves in the capital fund. And if those hypothetical 1.5 million and then $500,000 come out of the general fund, that's going to eat into the general fund reserves, and we need to be upfront about what that means. So I would like to see thoughtful work into and things like a potential cost overrun on the softball field. There are other athletic facility things that are likely to be needed in the next 5 years. There are failing heavy equipment that could happen. It all could be changed in major investment, but just in terms of survival investment, there is that issue. And I think as time has passed, it's become more and more critical for the school board, as for the school district. There are other alternatives to using the reserves in the general fund. Theoretical, as far as I'm concerned, and I'd like to learn a lot more about them. There's the potential of debt. There's a potential of capital levies on smaller amounts. I think that I would like to see some thought going into that, and I'll leave it at that point. We are planning the general budget. This will, in the short term, this concept has an impact on 24-25 general budget. And it's something that either in one form or another, I think we need to harden up the alternatives.
All right, last slide is our budget timeline. So tonight we have their preliminary budget presentation on the other funds. This will be followed by the preliminary budget presentation on the general fund on the 25th. The preliminary budget is due to the ESD by July 10th for their review and feedback. After we do that, we'll be provided with their feedback and make any changes if necessary based on that feedback and review. I believe then we'll have 2 August board meetings. The first meeting will be a public hearing. Again, that will do a presentation. Again, it'll be a combination of both the funds tonight and the general fund based on the ESD feedback. Again, and a chance for public citizen comment and highlighting any changes or concerns that maybe the ESD brought up. And then last but not least, be at the second board meeting in August would be the budget adoption at the regular meeting, which would come in the form of just a board resolution. And then, of course, it has, we aim for the end of August because by state law, the budget is due to OSPI on the last business day of the fiscal year, which is August 30th. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Moving on to superintendent report.
Yes. Okay, we'll jump in here. Just want to say a few words about the passing of Barbara Tilley. She was such a generous and passionate spirit in our world of education. Many of my interactions with Barbara were through either Wenatchee Rotary or through the Packaging Friendship service, which served our homeless students in the valley for years and years. She was instrumental in the planning and the organization and loved to stay in the background, but we know that without her vision and her determination to serve, that many programs would not have lasted as long as they did. She was just a ray of hope and light for our community and for our students in the Wenatchee School District. So I just wanted to share that moment. It's also a very exciting time in the Wenatchee School District for lots of reasons. A lot of it has to do with the ending of the school year. Last week, we had our Migrant Senior Night on last Wednesday. And then we have some graduations that are coming up. We have SkillSource tomorrow night. We have our Wenatchee Valley Transitions program on Thursday. Wenatchee High School's on Friday, and then West Side's will be a week from today, and their first time at the Town Toyota Center. So we're excited about those coming up. Also, you've seen some information about our free summer meals out there. So the district, along with community partner Small Miracles, will continue to offer our free summer meals to students Monday through Thursday, starting June 24th. The Wenatchee School District will provide no-cost hot breakfast and lunch at Mission View Elementary, and Small Miracles will have grab-and-go sack lunches at the Wenatchee area parks. I had the privilege of, well, a couple of things, privilege of interviewing and introducing our new school resource officer, Edgar Barajas. We have been some changes. We've had some changes in our school resource officer ranks. Officer Steele and her family will be relocating, and her position will be filled by Officer Edgar Barajas. And so we're excited about having him. He's been on the police force for 3 years. He grew up in Cashmere. He is committed to making an impact on our community through our youth. He is passionate about giving back and mentoring, and he's fairly youthful himself. I told him I was glad he could grow a beard, or else he might be. The uniform gives it away, but otherwise he'd need a hall pass. But his youth allows him to build relationships quickly, and he hopes to earn the trust of our students and families quickly for the fall. And this is an interesting little bit of statistics that was shared with Jim Beeson today in an email. He said in the last 11 years, the Panthers have a big lead over their fellow league members in the number of times placing teams in the top 8 in state competition. So it's an interesting statistic, but then it goes on to say the purple and gold have earned top 8 positions 31 times, with the others trailing. Moses Lake has done it 18 times, Eisenhower 13, West Valley 13, Eastmont 11, Sunnyside 11, and Davis 7. So it's an interesting bit of statistics there, and I kind of liked it, so I just wanted to share. But that's it for superintendent report.
Moving on, board communication started. Miranda.
I have none tonight.
None. It was a short week. Tucker, do you got anything?
I wasn't able to do it in person, but congratulations to all our retirees. So thank you for your service.
Short but sweet. Martin.
I think that was a wonderful time with retirees today, and I know it's repetitive, but let's celebrate it and thank them. Corey did the same thing I did, AP Geography interview on, and one of the questions is, what can people do to help get a bond to modernize Wenatchee High School? 3 sophomores were my interview group, and they'd already done their AP exam. And this is an example of the fact that this district has the broadest and deepest range of high achievement educational subject matter available in the region. And to see that, and to sit down with young adults, their civic awareness, their civic maturity, their caring, and something I thought was kind of interesting, they want to be proud of their home school. That was one of the key things that we're thinking about, is what is this place like? I want to be proud of it. But anyway, that's an example of educational excellence that we got to enjoy. And I also, and I think, Maria, you also wanted to pay tribute to Barbara Tilley. And so
Yeah.
you can go first and I'll go last.
Yeah, no, mine will be brief. I actually had the honor of working with Barbara Tilley here on my capacity as a school district employee. She was heavily involved with your coming here at district office, whether it was packing friendships or with little Miss East Cascade and getting information out to the buildings. And then just out in the community, her heart was in education. Her children wrote a great obituary to honor her. And again, I just knew her from her volunteer work, but she has an extensive history with the Wenatchee School District. And Earl is still around, and we'll make sure that this gets out to Earl.
Okay, good, because I think this is very important, and she was a person I wrote with great determination and no fanfare, and went about doing good, which is pretty much what Corey said. And packing friendship is how we in the school district mostly relate to her. And something special about that is a project that found the gaps in the services. Saturday, Sunday, when there are no school meals, summer, when there are no school meals. And also, as a heritage for Barbara, it's continuing. It's in the blood and in the culture and in the air in this valley now. It's a tradition of doing it. Small Miracles is a later generation of a similar idea. But this morning at the interagency meeting, there was no speaker, so people asked our family advocates to explain their work. And that's a link to Packing Friendship, because the people who very quietly and unobserved put together the food on Friday night in a way that is discreet and anonymous, and they go to the right people, and it works. Those are family advocates. And they supply and connect every imaginable kind of need within the schools. As a result, there was a large round of applause in this room at about 11 o'clock this morning for the work of the family advocates and their peers in the school district. And I think it's good for everybody to know that. So that's a link to Barbara. The heritage goes on, and great work. Thank you, everybody.
I have nothing. It was a short week. So if that's it for board communication, we will move into executive session. The board will now recess into executive session for a period of 30 minutes until 8:25 to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment or review the performance of a staff member, and to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price, and to consider the minimum price at which real estate will be offered for, may be offered for sale and or lease when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of decreased price. Pursuant to district policy number 1410 and RCW 4231-110 and various subsections, these discussions will be closed to the public. The school board is expected to take final action following the executive session. The board will be extending executive session for an additional 15 minutes to 8:40. let me know when. The school board will be extending an executive session for 10 minutes until 8:50. So we are back. It's 8:50 from executive session. Over the course of the last few weeks, we've had the opportunity to meet and evaluate our superintendent's qualifications. And I believe we have a proposal related to the superintendent contract.
Yes, and I'd like to make a motion to authorize the negotiation of amendment to superintendent agreement to remove the title of interim and extend an additional 1-year term to expire in 2026.
I will second that motion.
It's been moved by Miranda, seconded by Maria. Do we have any discussion?
I'll add some discussion. I think the extension of the ability to enter into contract negotiations to amend the current contract and extend to an additional year allows for us to continue with that stability that we've been needing with just multiple superintendents in the last several years. So thank you, Corey. Thank you for the board for working together on this.
I agree with that. This is a long-term decision. We can amplify discussion later on at the action meeting.
Yeah, and I'll just add for maybe people who have forgotten, we entered into the 2-year interim contract in part because we were facing an election where it was potentially very, very likely that a whole new board, maybe not very, very likely, but there was a potential that an entirely new board would be in place and in the first year, and recognizing that the limited experience in the role. And I think it's been, a sort of what we expected in a first year, but I think we feel comfortable with the direction we're moving, and we do need to have some stability over the next few years. So this feels like a right decision. If there's no further discussion, I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Oh. And for the record, Tucker is with us by phone, and I did hear an aye from Tucker. So I believe that means we are unanimous.
Yes.
Thank you. So we will look for that contract then at the next meeting. And with that, meeting adjourned.